20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा
सब
है।
जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
सब जगह मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश में बैठा हुआ है भाई।
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त जगह है, मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
मस्त बंदा है।
कहता है पलाश कि मुझे तो यहाँ दुकान दिलवा दो बाहर, मम्मी को ले आऊंगा, मस्त पकौड़ा बनाया करेगी चाय। 20 मिनट हो गए।
मेरे पलाश
भाई पलाश में पता नहीं है, नीचे ही है वो, तो सब जगह कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है।
तुम्हारे लिए 4 कर दे। तुम्हारे लिए 4 कर तुम्हारे लिए 4 नहीं
मिस हो गई नहीं मेरी। हाँ शुगर और करनी चाहिए, ये भी बात अच्छी है। आसानी से नहीं होता। तो फिर स्लो हो जाती हमारे तो जितने उसका भी होगा, इसका टेंशन हो जाएगा कहाँ पे होगा, कौन से चौराहे से होगा, क्या होगा, हाँ, कितनी बार लड़ाई होगी। वो लोग तो चलाएंगे क्या होगा,
उसको बैठाना पड़ा।
वो लोग तो चलाएंगे क्या होगा।
उसको बैठाना पड़ा।
एंड का वो लोग तो चलाएंगे भाई, क्या होगा कम आ जाएगा कुछ डिस्काउंट।
वो पूछ रहे क्या काम करते हैं, कहानी नहीं पूछ रहे, पागल आदमी।
कहानी नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ,
हाँ
पहले क्या करते थे अब क्या करते हैं। वकील है तो वकील हर जगह जब हो जाएगा, वो राजनीति में भी कोशिश एक बार करेगा। किससे जुड़े हुए हैं पापा?
उन्हें अच्छे से पता है कि लड़कियों को कैसे हमारे घर में ट्रीट करा जाता, सब सिखाया जाता है। पूछो उनसे।
तो ये क्या यहाँ के थोड़ी है, ये क्या है?
जाट भाभी सही है, उसके पास का हूँ, मुझे वो बोलनी नहीं आती, बाकी उनके जाट
अच्छा, इनको नहीं आती हरियाणवी बोलनी?
कम
कम आती, मैं
क्यों?
रही
आप बाहर रहे हो क्या? कि बाहर तो खैर ये भी रही है,
लेकिन
पर ऐसा ऐसा झुल गया है
पे
कि
तो बोला जाता है।
मेरी घर पे बोला जाता, मेरी मम्मी मेरे से फोन पे हरियाणवी में बात करती थी ना।
मेरी मम्मी यूपी की है, मेरे पापा हरियाणा के हैं, मेरे पापा की जॉब यूपी की पे रही, मैं चंडीगढ़ बहुत टाइम रहा।
हाँ, तो फिर उधर का थोड़ा
तो
पंजाबी
मेरा
वगैरह आपको थोड़ा समझ में आता
हाँ
होगा।
पंजाबी तो
आती
तभी
है
मैं
ना।
समझ लेता
मैं
हूँ।
वही कह रहा हूँ, जो जहाँ रह जाता है उसको थोड़ा थोड़ा सीख लेता
बस
है।
वही हरियाणवी तो ऐसे मुझे आवाज आती है, मेरी वाइफ यहाँ की है दिल्ली की, वो बोल भी लेती है, पर इतना टिपिकल वो भी नहीं बोलनी क्योंकि अलग अलग होता है।
नहीं, मेरी मम्मी तो बचपन से, जैसे मैं हॉस्टल में थी तो फोन पे हरियाणवी में बात करती थी ना, तो पकड़ तो लेते ही हैं। सेकंड क्लास का बच्चा कितना ही होता है।
बस हाँ, उस
और
टाइम
हफ्ते में
सीखने
3
का
बार
थोड़ा
बात करती थी वो।
सीखने का थोड़ा रहता है ना उस टाइम पे, कोई भी चीज बोलो तो
नहीं
यहाँ
सर,
पे।
उस टाइम तो मेरा क्राइटेरिया सेट हो गया था कि मम्मी के
नहीं
साथ मैं
सर
बात
सर
करूंगी
वहीं
तो
से
ऑटोमेटिक
स्टार्टिंग हो रहा
हरियाणवी
है।
निकलेगी, पापा से बात
उन्होंने
करूंगी
नहीं
तो
नहीं
शुद्ध हिंदी निकलेगी वो।
जिसकी मेडिकल क्या बनाना था,
अरे वो टेबल
हो गया
छोटा मोटा स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ अभी।
वहीं पर ही नहीं हो तो मैं क्या करूँ यार, इनका यहाँ पे तो ब्लैक, मेरा तो ऐसा है,
नहीं चाहिए,
समझ नहीं आ रहा ऐसा क्यों क्यों रही है।
ये बैनर ही चेंज किया
मैं वहीं से उठा रहा हूँ, जो भी है वही इन्हीं का लिंक है।
क्योंकि वहाँ पे ये या तो उन्होंने कस्टम बैनर लगा रखे हैं।
तो मैं कौन,
उन्होंने खुद का कस्टम है, ये थंबनेल उठा रहा होगा क्योंकि यहाँ पे प्ले का आइकन है, प्ले करना।
यहाँ थोड़ा ही होगा।
अच्छा, कहीं पे भी है वहाँ जहाँ प्ले होगा, कहीं ये ना हो कि
समझ नहीं आ रहा, बस मुझे यही चिंता खाई जा रही है कि कुछ मिसमैच ना कुछ हो जाए। एक तो नीचे नेटवर्क नहीं आ रहा, पहली बार क्या देखते भी कैसा चलता नहीं है।
ये यूआरएल किसने दिया आपको?
ये तो मुझे यहीं से मिला था, इन्होंने भेजा था,
तो
राहुल और ने। मैंने तो एक्चुअली
वो दो अलग अलग यूआरएल होंगे, इनके इंटरनल के लिए अलग होगा और एक्सटर्नल के लिए अलग होगा।
मैंने तो ये वाला उठा लिया, इसका एम्बेडेड, क्योंकि मुझे वो नहीं दिखाने थे साइड में प्ले स्टोर।
ठीक है,
उठाए भी मैंने यहीं से था, शेयर से। क्या चेंज करके देखो क्या?
चेंज करके देखिए, वो अब तो लाइव चल रहा है, जो चल रहा चलने तो फालतू में कुछ नहीं।
ठीक है, देख के जाएगी। देखते हैं उसका भी कैसा है।
अपने पे 15, उसके पे 6 है ना।
किस पे 6 है?
अभी कॉन्फ्रेंट यूजर दिखा तो रहा था, किस पे 6 दिखा
इसी के ही है जो अपने ही है, ये उसके कुछ नहीं है, नहीं है जो भी है।
जो अपना वाला हो रहा है उस पे कमेंट ऑन है।
ऑफ है, वो भी बंद कर देता हूँ। जो आता है ना, क्या कहते हैं, एक्चुअली बस ये खाली उस तक चलेगा जब तक ये प्रेजेंट वो नहीं हो, अवार्ड तक चलेगा ये। हाँ भाई, हाँ भाई बोल। मेरी आवाज कहाँ से आ रही है? आवाज हमारी कैसे आ रही है? तो रिकॉर्डिंग ना, हमने तो रिकॉर्ड भी नहीं की हुई है कुछ। मेरी आवाज कहाँ से आ रही है? आवाज हमारी कैसे आ रही है? तो रिकॉर्डिंग ना, हमने तो रिकॉर्ड भी नहीं की हुई है कुछ। चल देख रहा हूँ, ठीक है। मेरी आवाज कहाँ से आ रही है? आवाज हमारी कैसे आ रही है? तो रिकॉर्डिंग ना, हमने तो रिकॉर्ड भी नहीं की हुई है कुछ। चल देख रहा हूँ, ठीक है।
80% of the people who are impacted are women. But what is heartening is that research shows that women are the best equipped to lead climate-related businesses. And again, all the wonderful ladies here are solving for climate change in one way or the other. So I would like to start with you, Vaishali. So research suggests that women's participation in climate change, women's participation in the workforce and climate change go in hand. And you are like doing a lot of, I mean, I've talked to you many times and you're doing a lot of work in solving for climate change. I mean, why not, how about you telling our audience as to how are they related together? How are they correlated? How is women participation in the workforce and climate change really correlated?
Yeah, hi, Jayata. First of all, thank you for putting this panel together, and I want to congratulate the magazine for this list and the expansion to 100, and I think it's very encouraging and motivating for many women, as it's quite difficult for women to get into the workforce even now. It may not seem that way, but that is a stark reality, and we see that not only in India, but globally. I think, there are two different things. Women and climate, as Mr. Elabadi mentioned, and Saurabh mentioned, that women are at the receiving end of climate. I think more than 80% of women actually solve for issues on the ground when it comes to climate-related problems. So they are problem solvers. But when it comes to finding jobs and areas of impact, whether it's policy at the highest level or it's on the grassroots, even in the farms working, they're never consulted, either at the policy level or at the grassroots level. So the fact is, it's an untapped area which requires the supply is there, but the demand is not really in place. And so whether it is institutions who must have leaders, in our company, I'm from Renew, which is a leading renewable energy company. In fact, it's a decarbonizing platform. We have 40% diversity on our board, right? And I want to say that it makes a huge difference. And over the last 4 years, since COVID, our D&I ratio has improved by 80%, right? So the fact is that when you have women leading, you have the actual impact by specific processes, initiatives, policy changes taking place on the ground. And as far as climate and business is concerned, I think they're not separate anymore. I think no business can operate in a world of today without climate, sort of solving for climate at the heart of what they do, whether it is fashion, whether it is oil and gas, whether it is transportation, any sector. Finance, you really do need to have green at the heart of whatever you do. And I've personally always looked at women's participation in the workforce as a participation very blind to gender, because I do believe that women are better at the workplace. Wow. So we don't really need to do more for them. We need to learn more from them. So that's my take.
Dipali, I would now like to come to you. You run a manufacturing facility and a sector like textiles, which is kind of known to be, which has always been on the wrong side of the news for, creating climate-related issues. And you're trying to change that narrative, and you are hiring a lot of women on your manufacturing facilities. So can you tell us what really is the correlation of having more women in the workforce, and how do they help in solving for climate change?
So first of all, I think it's really a pleasure to be here amongst all of you.
Thank you.
Women are leading the change, and I think the day we stop talking about women being there and, the men, I think it's a world where we need both. And when I started working at Wellspun, there were 7% women in the organization, and today we have 30% women. the importance of having women in the workforce, and I think we work around with 20,000 people at Welspun Living Limited. The women who is buying your product is the person who's buying the product is a woman. The person who's making that decision, at the other side of the table, for me, the merchant is a woman. So I think the importance of a woman is there. For me, that's what I realized when I started working. Today, I can say that women in the workforce can really make an impact. Today, with 30% women working at Welspun Living Limited, earlier we did a program, and I want to tell you that while we can say that, the women, this is a problem, but I think we have to solve for it. We did a program with an NGO where we just not only did about sensitivity about hygiene with the women, multitasking with the women, but we also trained the family. I mean, about how to share the workload. And actually, that's what really made an impact. That time, from 7% to 30%, having women in the workforce really made a lot of impact. And I always believe when you lead an organization, you don't lead it in the organization, but also make an impact in the communities. So we have a program called SPUN, where, we upcycle rags. So we talked about textiles being the culprit. We actually, upcycle around 2 tons of rags every month, where women make cushions and rugs out of it, and they earn around 20,000 rupees, and they operate their bank account. So when you say that, how the impact and what the women can do a whole lot of things. Women, on the other side, how, the communities where they are earning their own living, in the workforce where the women can, really lead and not only earn and become a breadwinner, but really can make decisions. And I feel it's not about just here. The programs that we do in the villages, where we have the programs called Well Netritva, where they do entrepreneur training, where they're earning their own living. The program of digitization, upskilling the women. So, the whole idea here, Ajita, is about women can change the world, they can be the change, they can impact the world, and I think they are leading from the front. So I can just say that by the end of it, climate is something where women lead by purpose. Women want to think that they want to make an impact. And I think that's where we all need to really make the way for the women.
Thank you so much. Coming to you, Preeti. So India is becoming a leader in green growth, and with the potential to unlock at least $1 trillion in value by 2030. And it also is looking at creating 35 million jobs. So while women-led businesses are supposed to be good for, are more equipped to solve for climate change, there's also a skilling issue. I'm told that only 10% of women have at least one green skill. And skilling is a big issue. And you also are hiring a lot of women in your manufacturing facilities. So it'll be interesting to hear from you as to what kind of conversations are you having with them? How are you skilling them?
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to everyone who's joined this elite list, and thanks to Fortune India. Just before I start my answer, by a show of hands, does everybody know where Baddi is? Okay, great. So it's like a slightly remote town close to Panchkula or Chandigarh, for the want of a better word. Essentially, Baddi is where our inverter or power electronics manufacturing plant is, and just to give you some idea of scale, we are the largest inverter manufacturer of India. And I am proud to say that we might be the only company in the country that is led by a woman in power electronics fully. So we were very intentional about this. In 2022, we looked at our production lines and we said, what can we do to bring women into the tech sector as well as the manufacturing sector? The two are not mutually exclusive. That's the guiding principle with which we work. That's part number one. Part number 2, we looked at our transformer assembly lines. And by the way, my industrial head is a man, so he's not here today, but Rajiv Ganju partnered me all the way on this, and we built a vision. We said we will have 100% women doing the transformer assembly. We produce 98% of the transformers that go into 3 million inverters in this country. That's a fair number of production of transformers. There were a few issues, Ajita. One is the men said, hang on a second, we've never worked with women on our production lines. And then they also said that the transformers are heavy. So are they going to be able to lift them? My CTO, who is also a man, Ganesh Murthy, partnered with me and my industrial head Rajiv and said, we can redesign these transformers. And we redesigned the OEM equipment for actually lifting those transformers through semi-automation equipment, and we asked our machine manufacturers to do that. It actually engendered the entire community in that, and while we were redoing that, we were innovating, we were creating jobs in the allied industries that were suppliers to us, and not to mention that we were upskilling the women who were actually going to then do transformers for India's largest manufacturing company. So here we were very proud, like we have today. This happened in 2022, 2 years later, 3 years later, as we sit here in 2025, those transformers in our nation are produced 100% by women. 40 women produce those transformers. So if you ever have a power backup or a solar inverter in your house by Luminous, you are driving not only the economy forward, you yourself are not only the climate warrior, you are actually contributing to the societal impact the women are making. So thank you for your support of Luminous inverters. The second piece which we did, the men said, we don't know how to hang out with them. And I'm a big believer of, look, I'm in a male-dominated industry. I'm the first woman who led a battery company also in the country. By the way, when I was hired, everybody said, Sachi mein ladki chala legi? Sach mein? So here we are, 4 years later. So I said, okay, we have to make friends. And I have 3 principles by which I share this with my teams and all the women who join me in this drive for being a climate warrior, but more than that, being commercially viable and profitable and relevant for the next 10 years to come. We have to take our space. That renewed economy that is coming, we will not miss this revolution. And there are 3 Ds that I share with my team members all the time. D number 1, dare. Dare to go out of the convention. It's okay, because there are other daring women who are in Luminous to support you. And if you've decided to dare, the second D is do. Do the skilling to be part of this new economy that is coming. So that would apply to our PCBA lines, to our transformer lines, to the solar PV training course, in which I'm also grateful that Australian High Commission has partnered us, which is for men and women, to the LAMP program that we run for girls, 78% of them are girls, to train them in STEM skills, all of that. Do the skilling and do the work. And third, demonstrate. Demonstrate that you are able to deliver. To that effect, I attribute my award to the women who actually increased the 8% throughput yield of that transformer line, to the women who make every PCB in my company, and to the men who support them every day. Thank you.
Wow. Coming to you, Vaishali. Oh, okay. I was just going to add to that.
Okay. I remember you telling me in one of our interviews that you've been training women, mine workers, as solar
skilling.
Yeah. So I'm sure you would like to tell us a little bit about that.
I just want to say that I can't agree more with you, Preeti. It's really, it's really what we can do just to see what women are made of. I think sometimes we just look at the lens from what is it that we can do for them. I'm a firm believer that I don't think we need to do so much for women. I think they deserve a lot more than what's out there. And we have to keep daring and so on and so forth. In fact, in some of our boardroom meetings, as the renewable energy sector over the last decade, I just want to talk about that for a second, was growing, the boardroom conversations were often about there's not enough manpower. And, we were like, well, we do have women power. There's so many women in rural India where, they know how to go to work. They're working in areas which are not very remunerative. So we really need to go and skill them and, fill the gap. Fill the gap at the workplace in the renewables sector. So we worked with SEVA, which is an NGO in Gujarat, and they work pan-India, to design a program to reskill salt pan workers. That's a program called Surya, where a lot of them are employed not only in our sites, but various sites in Gujarat, in Rajasthan, etc. And I must tell you that it's not that we are doing them a favor, they're doing us a favor. We've taken our board to one of our sites, and these young women were like, we don't want to just work as, kind of part of the team here. We can really be managers. So what are the other jobs you have for us? And they were asking this of the board members. So I guess, Dipali, you operate in Gujarat, and you've seen the women there are really full of so much self-confidence that it's really endearing to see. Why are we leaving them behind? It's just not right. So there's enough potential there. So we are also working in Dhanbad, with the IIT Dhanbad, to reskill women there. But the unique thing about that program is that we are reskilling coal mine workers, but we are reskilling the couples, because they have to migrate from there. So as they migrate, it's more likely that they'll be able to go for a job with their spouse. So we're doing kind of couple skilling there, and then hopefully we'll be able to get them sort of to pivot from coal to renewables. So that's another program we're doing. We're working on a couple of other programs. We're working with the Australian High Commission as a part of the Prime Minister's Surya Ghar Yojana, where and the Green Skill Council for reskilling women. Again, just gathering a lot of the women and reskilling them and skilling them so that we can feed in the gap in the renewable energy sector.
But how much have their incomes gone up ever since they got solar?
A lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. So let me tell you, a salt pan worker's income has gone up by 10 times in a year. Because, as a salt pan worker, they're employed half the year. But after the skilling, they can work throughout the year at a multiple time of what they earn every month. Of course, their health and the living conditions and all of that also improve significantly. We are also working with ITIs across India, where we are, curating renewable energy courses and building specialized courses so that the young graduates can come and work on our manufacturing facilities and various other opportunities in the sector as well. So right from the communities to the ITIs, and of course we hire from the best schools like IITs, etc., where we bring in about 50% young graduates who enter the workplace at Renew.
Dipali would, thank you, Vaishali. Dipali, would you comment, before I move to Ritu, I have quite a few investment-related questions to ask her, but before I move on to her, would you have anything to share about how you skill your women employees at your manufacturing facility, and also what kind of conversations do you have with them? What are their concerns and how do you deal with it?
So when you talk about manufacturing, I think for us, it is about, making that, spinning, weaving, and processing, and the cut and sew, and the entire process. And I think when you think about manufacturing, you'll think about the machines. But I think with us, we are 100% automated. Industry 4.0, AI is a very important aspect. I met somebody here in the audience, and she said one of her students is working with us. So we also talk about analytics here. So like for me, because we are present in more than 70 countries across the globe, and at the front end, what the consumer will buy is kind of what the data you really need. So you have these young kids who are data scientists who are working as well. While at the factories, when you're talking about, these are not just girls who are working there, they're also looking at the complete entire supply chain. Because for us, when you talk about cotton and the entire gamut of things, it's blockchain. you also need to know that, okay, what that consumer is going to buy is what you're going to make. So what you're going to make on the machine. So it's again about the projections, the complete analytics. So while you should have these skill sets of what you're doing on the machines, you also need to understand the data. So that's the kind of upskilling that we do with them on digital platforms. So when you're teaching them not only Industry 4.0, you're also teaching them AI. So, you know, I mean, I think you'll not believe it or not imagine, we make 1 million units of towels every single day. So when you're doing the towel counting, you get human fatigue. So one of our girls made this program where you could do the towel counting with AI. And she got herself registered on NASCOM and they won. You know, so these are these things in a kind of a remote area in Kutch is something where the women are doing. So it's about confidence and believing in themselves. I think there's a lot of things when you talk about technology or arming them with skills. It's also about a belief in themselves. Because when I started working 25 years back, it was not about just with my skill sets that I started working. It was about the belief that, yes, I can do it. Yes, I'll have somebody. And I think more than anything else, you need support from your family. You need support from your peers. And also you need support from, you know, kind of team of women supporting women. And I think that's what it was, Ajita. So more than anything else, it's about the confidence that the women need to say that, okay, they can do it. So I think that's what I believe and, you know, instill in. Even in the communities when the women are earning their living, it is about, yes, they can do and they can earn. It's about the data analyst sitting there who can say that, okay, I can sit and run this program for Walmart and go and sit in front of the customer. That designer who's sitting and working and saying that, okay, I can make the most beautiful product or design, you know, is something that is the belief that she can do. So, you know, it is a multifaceted thing that you have to continuously do. And in textiles, it's not just about manufacturing. It is about that consumer at the last mile. You're making that design thinking program for that consumer, what she's going to buy. To that, again, about sustainability. I think I must tell everybody that, you know, we have these farm workers whom we got ahead. So when we talk about, you know, farmers, you have mainly in your mind male farmers, but there are these female farmers who make more than 60% of the workforce at the farms. So getting them ahead, making them kind of, giving them that respect, I think in the terms of cotton was a very important aspect of a program that we did. So I think it's in the entire supply chain, Ajita, that, you know, you continue to skill and upskill. Whether it's in the villages, whether it's in the communities, whether it's in the farms, whether it's in the machine, you know, on the machines, or whether it's a global supply chain that you're talking about. And you have to constantly do that. And it's upskilling, and it's about, last but not the least, and the most important thing is belief in yourself. Because I believe that if you believe in yourself, you'll be able to do anything. Because in this world, and I think everybody will agree, that, you know, you are armed with a degree, but you're already unlearning that. You're unlearning to learn, because now when you're doing coding, a tech person who was doing coding a long time back is now learning how to use AI. So I think in this world, which is so dynamically and fast changing, you'll have to continuously upskill. And we are arming our women, not only at the factory and the workforce, but at the front end to take that forward.
Thank you so
I
much.
just wanted to make a quick point for all the young women sitting at the back, very enthusiastically listening to all of us, that, you know, you made a very good point, Dipali, that, you know, women need support and women need encouragement, and some women have the drive to just push and go ahead. You know, it's really important, whether it is at home or whether you're at work, when you need something, but you really have to step up and ask for things, because otherwise you're not going to get them. So whether it's at home, I think people are just so used to having men go to work and women stay at home. And as we pivot, we really need to make it clear that we want to go to work.
And there is a support. You have to proactively build the ecosystem of friends and family who support you and make it possible. Similarly, at work, like even at Renew, there are many young women who are ready to go to the sites and go and work there. But men at the workplace, with all good intentions, take it for granted that perhaps it's inconvenient for you to do that. So it's really important for you and for us to push ourselves and ask for things, because nobody's going to give it to you otherwise. So I just
Thank you.
I finally come to Ritu. So, actually, our next panel is on women in entrepreneurship. And I mean, out of all the stories that I've done, the research I've done all these years, I increasingly have got to know that women-led businesses in general find it difficult to raise funds. If you're only a women-led business, if you don't have a male co-founder, those businesses find it difficult. As an investor, and you also do a lot of climate-led investments, how important is diversity?
Sure. Maybe I build on what Dipali was saying because it's very close to my heart. I often say whenever I'm asked by youngsters, not just women, you have to believe in yourself before the world believes in you. And so that you spoke so eloquently about it that it was resonating truly. The doubts there, enough people around you to raise. Talking about investments, the world that I belong to, it is pretty much a male bastion, and yes, it is not so common to find women. Interestingly, I lead a team across 13 countries in Asia, about 25 companies we have in Asia, and each has a large investment team. I represent Allianz, which is a large global financial institution. I have 60% of the workforce, of investment leaders, investment officers who are women, just purely because of inclusive meritocracy. It's not that we go out or give mandates that we would select women. We just try to make sure that it is an even playing ground. And the more the role models, the more like a magnet you attract talent. Women also find it uncomfortable to be in decision-making groups where they're only men, decision makers. And hence, I think bringing that toggle, making that change, having more women in that work environment automatically starts drawing more and more. In my own team in Singapore, at one point, I didn't realize that it happened. There was only one guy left in the team. And he came up to me one day and said, Ritu, do you think about diversity? And I was like, okay, maybe I have to consciously work on diversity. But it's interesting how one cannot be conscious of it, but the world notices. Yesterday, I met a colleague, industry colleague, who I was meeting after 20 years. So way back when I met MetLife is when he was interacting with me, and he remembered that even there, you were a 3-women team. And I was like, you remember that about 20 years back? To me, it speaks volumes about how unique it ends up being, even if one is not doing consciously, and how important it is more and more to put out role models. And like you rightly said, hence it is very difficult for women who are raising money, running funds, and there are quite a few illustrious ones, but very few. You can count them probably on one hand at best at 2 who do that. So again, I think the more we see, the more we will have, because I think finance comes very naturally to women, though it's presumed to be our weak spot. But I think every woman is a finance manager. She runs home, she runs finances.
Preeti, you have a venture fund which invests in climate-led businesses. So it'll be interesting to hear from you as to when you invest in these climate-led businesses, how important is diversity for you?
I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. The biggest climate financier of this century is Honorable Sita Raman, running the Pradhan Mantri Surya Yojana scheme. And of course, our Pradhan Mantri himself. So they've both endorsed diversity, and that's absolutely 100% female-led financing of consumer homes. So kudos to them, and we are very delighted that we are part of that change. For those who may not know, Luminous Power Technologies is 100% owned by Schneider Electric, which is the largest global energy management giant in the world.
We have a Schneider Electric venture fund. As I sit here today, I think we have around $1 billion in the venture fund worth of assets under management. And in India alone, we are starting to make investments. So roughly across the globe, each year around 50 to 100 million is deployed, all in climate-led businesses. So companies, actually a Gujarat-based company, Aram, which is a climate financing tech platform that is being funded by Schneider Electric Ventures. So I'm very proud to kind of look at that. But what we do is we don't just invest in that early stage startup and say, go ahead, do what you have to do. We bring businesses such as Luminous next to them. So what does a startup need? A startup needs scale. What has Luminous got? Luminous has got scales. It has got a large distribution network, 100 million consumers. We add roughly 320,000 consumer homes to our business each year. And in all of those, we connect 100 grid-tied inverters per day. So it's not just enough sometimes our approach is to just give money. It's about actually giving the startups a collaboration and a partnership. And that's how Schneider and its companies, its subsidiaries, work in India today and, of course, across the world as well. So, and if more women run those startups, for sure. Can I just say, I am a woman who has run businesses. I have raised money as well in my previous life. Capital is gender neutral. It's idea focused, it's courage focused, it's competence focused, but it's gender neutral. So for the women who are actually thinking about capital raising, I have another 3A framework, Dedu, Ajita. So if you are raising money, number one, demonstrate a number one, ambition. No venture capitalist or investor, Ritu will probably agree, likes to invest in small ambition. They like big ambition. Number two, achieve. Show that you have achieved or you will achieve in that meeting with confidence. And number three, A, ask. Ask shamelessly for the 10 million. And if you want 10 million, ask for 25. The biggest learning I have is that. Thank you.
Preeti, very well said on the last part. If you need 10, ask for 25. But I disagree with the fact that capital is gender neutral. I think they're very biased. A man seeking funds with half the capabilities and competency will get funded versus a woman who is way more capable. I don't want to convert these, they're facts. People are not funding women-led startups. Unfortunately, data proves that, but I wish you were right. My experience is that there is still a gap.
Ritu, you have opportunity, huh? You have opportunity. Please step up and invest.
I do think it is difficult for women to be taken seriously, especially when they're starting off with a business and to raise capital. And I do see that around me.
So Ritu, coming back to you again, we live in a world where disruptions have become a way of life, and especially climate-led disruptions. Yes. So how does one factor these disruptions into one's business model so that they're able to build a business that would last a test of time?
Sure. And who knows that better than an insurance company which I represent? Just this last year, I think we had, not we as a company, the economy had about 350 billion climate-related losses, of which only about 120 billion were insured, which means that climate is disrupting businesses, daily lives, people's homes quite significantly. Of course, there are technology solutions which are now helping address or prevent or preempt the challenges that come along and to take remedial action. But I think every starfish that you throw back into the water counts, and hence it is so important for each business, for each household, for each corporation to be getting very conscious. I know no more is it very fashionable to talk about climate, especially in some parts of the world. But the destruction to the world is so imminent, is so visible that we would really do ourselves big disservice as organizations if we were not addressing it at each organization level. I can see Dipali nodding vociferously. Be it energy transition, which needs a lot of funding, be it diversity, in all aspects, it is pretty important that we do not forget the classical ESG.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope all of you learned a lot, just as I did. And it was a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, and that was the instruction that I gave you guys in the beginning. I thought we were all in cahoots together. Huge round of applause
Let's set the roof on fire, guys. This was a fascinating panel. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Ajita, for moderating that. I've been taking down notes. AI, blockchain. I thought this was going to be a conversation only on climate. There was so much more. And as always, enlightening and fascinating. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to have all of y'all in the audience and a packed house in the front. It's good to see that we've got everyone
ready for the next session, which is an interesting one, because we don't have one moderator, we have two of my colleagues doing this one. It's all about women and entrepreneurship. It is well known that women-led businesses have a high chance of success. However, the fact remains that fewer women-led businesses are able to build scale. What is the missing link? The answer often lies in systemic barriers, including unequal access to capital, deeply ingrained gender biases in funding ecosystems that were alluded to in the previous conversation right at the end, and limitations within professional networks that really disproportionately affect female entrepreneurs. Now, that was, of course, me using AI to give you an introduction, since we did speak about it in the previous panel. But to understand, to dissect and analyze where that missing link is, I'd like to call on stage our next panel. Can we please have a huge round of applause every time I announce a name, guys? That's the rule for the day. Soumya Rajan, founder and CEO, Waterfield Advisors. Amisha Vora, Chairperson and Managing Director, Prabhudas Leeladhar. Devita Saraf, Chairperson and CEO, The View Group. Madhura Das Gupta Sinha, founder, Aspire for Her. This session will be moderated by two of my colleagues, Ajita Sashidhar and V. Keshav Dev. A huge round of applause, please.
So I'm back on the stage again. Thank you so much to all my dear panelists for making it for this panel. And so the topic is women in entrepreneurship. And I had a lot of morose questions, as Devita told me in the morning. She said, why can't you ask some, feel-good questions? So I think I'll do exactly that. I have bought her advice. So I would start with you, Devita, since the suggestion came from you. So
Ajita, you'll have to tell the audience what am I doing here. So I'm filling the diversity quotient.
Kudos to you. So I would start with you, Devita. So you have been a women entrepreneur all your life. And so what is really unique about you? What is the uniqueness that you have brought in onto the table? Because again, you deal with a business, you lead a business which is highly male-dominated. So in this male-dominated world, what kind of uniqueness have you brought to the table?
Well, I dominate the men. So first of all, thank you for having me on this panel. I've shared this story with your team, but I must share this in public. When I was in school and college, I was inspired back then that one day I would be in the Fortune MPW list. And when I was studying in California, most people on their undergrad dorm rooms would put maybe a poster of an actor or a singer or a cricketer or whatever player. And I used to every year pull out the Fortune MPW list and then put it over my bed and have that inspire me. And thank you. And I am a serial offender. I have been on this list before, but I think it's just the greatest honor for women, working women, to be on this list. And the fact that they aspire for this, and you really pick out your list well. So congratulations to everyone here and in the audience for being there. I think what I feel women add differently to business, and this is something that has given us at View Technologies a core competence, is one, we are very much driven by vision and purpose. You know, we want to do things which are customer-centric. We want to do things which are building about the right company culture. You know, there is a purpose of also giving back much more strongly. There's a lot of creativity in our work. There's a lot more senses than just the science. So when I entered the world of technology, and I saw it was this sort of, you know, male bastion of just one-upmanship on whose technology is faster, better, but really missed the boat on building a product that people loved, I felt that this was the time to be there. And what was very interesting is when I started this company saying I want to blend the worlds of luxury and technology together, most people didn't think that the twain could meet. And it took me about 8 or 9 years to really get the business off the ground. And then, you know, once the J-curve started, it reached to being a 1,000 crore company. So having that vision, I think as a woman, it's important that we really add our uniqueness, as you said, our specialty, our empathy, our vision into any business we do. Because there are so many businesses these days which are just boring, unnecessarily loss-making, competitive. And I don't think that many women-owned businesses lose as much money. So for sure, I think we all have our eyes on the prize, and that is profit. And so we are here to be there for the long term. Build a good company, have a great company culture, keep your customers happy, and most importantly, make sure you remain on the Fortune MPW list.
Thank you. Now let me come to the not so feel-good questions. So Madhura, you run Aspire for Her, wherein you help people kind of incubate businesses. And again, all of us know that it's not easy to run a women-led business. And more than often, it is the women who does not have the confidence to go ahead with her business plan. Family takes priority, and I mean, for her, it is like just like a time pass kind of a thing, as they say. They do not take it seriously. So what do you do? Like, how do you you must be mentoring a lot of them. So what do you exactly tell them?
First of all, thank you so much, Ajita. Thank you for having us here. It's indeed a pride and privilege to represent Aspire for Her on this very, very august forum. My name is Madhura, and I'll just talk a little bit about what Aspire for Her really does, and perhaps that will answer your question. So I was a banker for 25 years, and like Saurav mentioned, I was looking at the data in terms of women's economic participation and feeling very sad and disappointed because India's women in the workforce participation was actually steadily declining over the past many years. I was surrounded by the best and the brightest women in the world in India, and I didn't think they deserved to be quite there. So I thought somebody needs to solve this problem, and that somebody should be me. So I started Aspire for Her to unleash that $1 trillion opportunity that lies latent in India if more women get to work. We started with the vision to add 1 million women to the workforce, to the economy by 2025. And this was in 2020.
So 2025 seemed to be a faraway, distant year somewhere in the future. Well, today it's 2025. And we currently are a community of 8,31,000 women in India. We motivate women to enter and stay in the workforce. And we use a unique model to build their confidence, to build their conviction. And that model talks about mentors and role models. That model talks about skilling, upskilling, reskilling themselves to get ready for tomorrow's India. That model talks about career previews and business resources, which they can dip into as a confident
professional in this world. And that model also talks about the community being front and center so that the community connects with each other, motivates each other, elevates each other, and ensures that they solve problems together, creatively and collectively. So that is what we do at Aspire for Her. This is our magic mantra, this 5-point model, where all that we do is open doors for these women so that they are ready to strive into the world. We have 25 communities, but our favorite community is that of job creators, because we like women to be job creators, not just job seekers. And this community is called Entreprenari. Entreprenari stands for the ambition of every woman in India. Thank you.
On that note of creating jobs, I think, Soumya, if you could share, you're one of the very few entrepreneurs who have created a name in the wealth management space, and also the one who had a bumper fundraise, an equity raise of 150 crores. So if you could share your take on that.
So thank you so much for having me as part of the panel, and of course a warm round of congratulations to all the winners here today. When I think about a lot of what I've heard in terms of what has been shared by Devita as well as by Madhura, when you think about entrepreneurship, it's actually quite tough. It's a very difficult journey to embark upon. I spent the first 17 years of my career in the corporate sector. I was in traditional banking, and then I said that one fine day I turned 40 and I realized that the industry that I was in was, one, male-dominated, but it was also an industry which I thought was quite a difficult and dirty industry, quote-unquote, because it was in many ways driven by commissions that you received based and pushing products into client portfolios when the clients really didn't need that. And I felt that we needed to change that. So when I think about entrepreneurship for myself, I think about the fact that what you need first is courage, because without that, you can't take that next step. And that courage comes because you have family support, but you also need to dig very deep into the mental resolve that you have and the self-belief that you need. And I remember when I started Waterfield, and the business model was completely different because we were advisors. We would only take our fees from our client. The second thing that was important to me, which was a little bit about what Devita said, is around integrity and its values. And I think women bring that uniquely, which is a little different. So courage is one for me, integrity and values.
How easy was it for you to get the conversations going, especially when you wanted some investors on board, or you were making a pitch to a client?
It was pretty tough, and I think in the earlier panel, there was a comment that Preeti had made that capital is gender neutral. So I have a take for what she said as well as what was shared by Vaishali. I do think that it's tougher for women to raise capital. It's tougher specifically because we don't have enough women on the other side as investors. Every time I was making a pitch, there was only a man or a male person at the other end. So for women to even get to the point of making a pitch is really hard. I have done 4 rounds of capital raising at Waterfield. The first 3 rounds were family offices, or basically friends. I did the first institutional round only 14 years after I started the company, because I was not sure whether I was ready to have an institutional investor. And I also kept doubting myself that I would be ready to kind of be responsible and also achieve all the expectations that were set of me. So for women, I think you are inherently sitting with doubts first. But once you've made that mental shift, then there's no looking back. And that's where I am right now.
Amisha, in your case, you hail from a traditional broking industry, but you also created history by, I would say, management buyout. Tell us that story. How easy was it?
Absolutely. That's what I would say, that raising equity capital is difficult, but doing leverage buyout
is easier.
no, it's even difficult to sit
on the debt equal to your 30 years of assets, I'm sure it's not an easy decision. And to make all the bankers agree from 4 promoter personal guarantee to 1 women personal guarantee for the line of credit that we get, I'm sure it is not easy. And of course, to make your all partners agree who are any which way ready to sell.
Can you share some anecdotes? Because they are very traditional promoters. Prabhudas Leeladhar is not an institution which has been around for a while.
So I started being a chartered accountant into equity research, moved on to institutional equity business, moved on and added investment banking within the fold of Prabhudas Leeladhar. And as I did this too, which turned out to be hugely profitable, I got about 24% sweat equity stake.
Okay.
And then...
And that was a first in that sense for someone getting a sweat equity stake?
Of course. And as I kept adding business, somewhere a little mismatch happened between the ambition and the passion and the speed at which I wanted to drive the business and my other partners. They were all agreeable to sell it to a foreign platform or a multinational or a bank, but selling back to me was definitely an issue. So it took me quite a while to get a yes to sell to me any which way when they wanted to sell. And this is what I really liked, that not only my team remained 100 out of 100% intact, as what I said, we are under regulations of RBI, SEBI, BSE, NSE, IRDA. Everybody agreed to give me the permission, and all the bankers stood by, and someone, a proper institution, agreed to give me a leverage buyout. Why I'm really narrating is, in this entire journey, I had many questions about myself, that at this age, will I be able to really pull this kind of work, hours, which I continuously did even before. But I never thought that I'm a woman, whether they will take me seriously, or he's a man, whether he'll take me seriously. So one message to me is very clear, that if I don't remain in my boundaries of being a woman and I talk sense, the opposite person will have to talk sense. And fortunately, in last 2 years, I managed to repay my debt. I did one small round of fundraising from 96, now I'm at 90%. I added teams, and I'm sure now I'm ready for a larger fundraise.
Soumya, taking that discussion forward, you said raising capital for women is difficult. So when you have those discussions, what do the men in the room say? I mean, why don't they want to fund a women-led business?
I don't think it's necessarily that they don't want to fund a woman-led business. And I think there is, for instance, a Harvard study that's happened, which actually speaks about the kind of questions that you're asked. And the study actually says that there are 2 kinds of questions in investor pitches. One tend to be promotion-led, which talks about growth, which talks about scale, which talks about ambition. And you then have another set of questions, which is what they call prevention questions, which are, for instance, talk about risk. So what tends to happen for women is that they get mostly asked the prevention questions. And this is research, which is backing this. And men tend to get asked the promotion questions, and therefore you're able to express yourself in terms of, this is my vision, this is what I want to build, this is what I grow, this is what I want to do and build and grow. So for instance, when I was raising capital, what I would always do is if I saw a prevention question, I would always turn it around to say, position it more in terms of growth. Just to give you an example, in wealth management, we get our fees as a link to our assets under advisory. So what you would want is a question to talk about your growth and how the assets are growing. Instead of which, the question that I was asked was, well, you are getting paid as a result of markets, and markets fluctuate. And if markets go down, then your revenue will go down. So I had to say, well, while the revenue will go down, we will also be looking at how we garner more assets, or we cross-sell other services, and then talk about revenue growth and how we could actually achieve that. So it is how you actually move the conversation as well. But ultimately, I do come back to what Preeti said in the earlier discussion, is that capital is actually gender neutral at the end of the day. It's just that we have to be confident when we are pitching our business case, because we are competing with everyone. It doesn't make a difference whether you're a man or a woman. If you've got the right business model, if you've got the right vision, if you've got the right management team, you will get that capital.
Devita, you had any of those issues? Capital came easy in some sense because of a legacy business. Because of a legacy business.
Well, I raised 25 lakhs from the family and raised it to 960 crores. So I don't think that capital came easy, and that's a little biased to just assume. Absolutely not. I think when I started out the company, I knew that I had either two currencies, either use time or I use money. You know, one is where I can raise money fast and really grow, or I can take my time and build the brand and keep expenses under control, and then make sure that, you know, we are extremely capital efficient on our own. Two things happened as the company grew. Was I did try and raise money. No one gave me any money. I will not.
Why didn't they give? I mean, was it because you're a lady, or was it because of the business?
I think what happens is when you meet any potential business partner or advisor, whoever, there has to be that click. You know, you have to know that they get you and you get them. I couldn't tell that the reason they didn't give me money is because I'm a woman, or because they weren't seeing the vision for the premium business, which now suddenly the newspapers are all about premiumization, or because they felt that, you know, India is not the market to build a high-end tech brand. So you can't really go back to people and say, oh, by the way, what is the reason you didn't give me money? The idea is just that, okay, even if I take their money, I'm also giving up that kind of control. And as an entrepreneur, I've always had a strong vision of what I wanted to do. I mean, this December, I complete 20 years of having started this company. And I've had that thought that if I get in too much money from the outside, the biggest challenge I would face is I would have to pivot too much to what the investors would want. Because at the end of the day, when you need liquidity for growth, you're also giving up control. So there's a very interesting case that class we had at Harvard Business School that said, do you want to be rich or do you want to be king? Do you want to own 100% of a 100 crore company or 20% of a 1,000 crore company? And because I was very clear on my vision on what I wanted, I realized at the end of the day, even if I raised the money, you know, what are the strings attached with it? So we decided to be actually very capital efficient. And as of right now, it's a completely debt-free company. I have no bank loans. And we are profitable, and we can pay our own bills. And thank you, Arti. But it's interesting. As in, I think the women part of business is there's a lot more conscientiousness. Whether it's our money, whether it's someone else's money, we really care to give back. And if I felt that my vision and someone's vision didn't match, I wouldn't take their money and waste it. I think all the money that went into startups and unicorns across India, had it gone to more women, we would not have been having the kind of economy that we have today. So next time, if you want to invest with a woman, invest less, but make sure that the investment is not going to go waste. Because we definitely, and I can guarantee and say this, women do carry ourselves this weight to, responsibility, purpose. There are very few of us out there in the corporate world as Aspire for Her is doing. And we find it a responsibility to run very capital efficient, strong businesses. Find me a company women-owned, that is just wasting money or wasting opportunity, and you won't. Speaking of which, somebody wants to give me money and has the same vision that I do, why not? You know where to reach me. And as entrepreneurs, we're always opportunists, we're always open.
Madhura, I would like to come to you. Entrepreneury has really small businesses. They're micro enterprises. So how do you motivate the women there not to give up? Because it's very easy for them to give up, because it's almost like a cottage industry. So it's very easy for them to give up. So how do you motivate them to kind of, scale up the business?
So I'll give you a small example, maybe with a story, and that will actually tell you how entrepreneurship truly works in the heartland of India. And this is the story of my inspiration. Her name is Preeti Kate, and I met her way back in 2021, just after she lost her very young husband to COVID. Preeti had never worked in her life before, and she had aging parents and in-laws to take care of and 2 children. And at one point in time, Preeti was actually contemplating taking her own life. So she was literally with her back against the wall, and she did not know how the family would survive. So Preeti joined our community. That time we started a community called Not Alone, which was meant only for women who had lost their primary breadwinners to COVID. And Preeti slowly started consuming all our resources. She started talking to her mentors. We were calling them anchors for the sake of this community, because the anchors were literally there at all points in time, morning and day and night, to be with them. She started looking at various options, and she's in this small place called Dhule in Maharashtra. And one day she decided that she wanted to start something on her own. She wanted to be her own boss, and she walked into her children's abacus class, and she started her own abacus class. Now this is as small as you can get. She started with 5 kids whose parents trusted her, and today she runs this abacus class very successfully out of Dhule. She has 170 kids who are her students. She is earning enough to do well for herself, for her family, for her in-laws, and she's saving money every month.
So it's all about grit and determination, right?
And resilience, and having that community which you know is there with you. So Preeti drew a lot of strength from the community, from her mentors, from the resources. She realized she was truly not alone. And I think that is what we try to do for every person who joins Entrepreneury.
Amisha, I would now like to come to you. I'm sure you mentor a lot of women entrepreneurs. So what really is your 2 cents to them? What do you tell them not to, so that they don't give up and they carry on?
So I think the biggest barrier between our dreams and ourselves is lack of perseverance. You can't really time success. You have to be at it, and keep walking. So first thing is continue to walk. Second most important thing is being positive. Being positive about life possibilities is when things happen. So giving up is never an option, because if you persevere, it happens. So I'm very happy to say that out of so many things which keep happening, there is a girl who took a 10-year break after her wedding for nursing her child. And as she came back, she found a lot of her male colleagues had gone ahead in race. She came back. She started as one of the analysts with me. And she was so passionate that I want to come back, get back what I lost. In 5 years, she is leading the charts in terms of whatever Asia Money ratings and business. Of course, it converts into your packages. So there is possibility. And this is what, of course, I keep telling myself also. While she's running a business for 20 years, I'm running my business as me for 2 years. I need to give that 20 years to myself, and above all, like how men When they fail, they don't go into a cage. Why should we go into a cage? And because we should not fail, we shouldn't do. I really want to take my mental barriers off. And something which really helped me, I want to share that. At 56, I went for a Everest base camp. And every day that I was walking on the craters, thin air, all my inhibitions about what I can't do just kept breaking. And if I can do that to my physical self, why can't I just break my own barriers? So for each of us, the distance between our dreams, our success, and us is only us. It's not circumstances. We create our circumstances, and success is here to come.
So believe in yourself.
Soumya, the fear of failure, has it dispelled, has it gone away from what it was when you had started off and after the fundraise that you have? How confident are you feeling about the business?
So I think failure is something that as an entrepreneur, you actually have to deal with and overcome. You have to overcome that fear because without that, you will just not be able to move ahead. I'd just like to say a couple of things, in terms of just entrepreneurship. If any of you out here are looking at that, I just had a couple of thoughts which I just wanted to share. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you're going to have to think about 5 things which I called first principles. FIRST, each one stands for something. The F stands for being future-oriented. And this is whether you are thinking of entrepreneurship or even in a corporate career, you have to think about what the future is going to look like. You cannot live in the present. Entrepreneurs are solving for problems that other people in the room haven't seen yet. So you have to develop that mindset. The second I is for investing in yourself. Because for a lot of people, you keep caring for everybody else, your clients, your employees. But frankly, if you don't invest in your own mental health, and I think mental health is extremely important here, you're going to do a huge disservice because everyone is looking at you as the founder to be that visionary and carry everyone else along. R is for risk-taking. You cannot be an entrepreneur unless you're ready to really take that risk, that leap of faith. S is for self-awareness, self-belief. We've had both this panel and the earlier one talk about that because without that, you cannot, again, move ahead. So ensure that you are very self-aware about what you can and can't do. But my motto has always been have no regrets. So whatever you do, do it in the best possible way. And T is for team. You cannot build a business solo. What you've also seen is the reason why there's so much hesitancy about why are we not seeing women out there creating huge businesses is because they're unable to scale. The unable to scale, the access and the ability to scale comes because of mindset and capital. But once you have the capital, you have to build a team. Without that, you cannot move forward. So just a piece of advice, think of first principles if you really want that burning ambition to create scale and a sustainable business for the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now, are we having a good time, or is the energy still high at the back? I can't hear you guys, huh? Oh, we can. You guys are having a good time, and I promise you that we will be discussing some of the most imperative things if you are actually a Mumbaikar like me. Actually, someone from Delhi visited a couple of days ago, and they said, honestly, the map of Mumbai has changed. A truly world-class city. And, you know, they say that you can judge a world-class city in the making. Culturally, we're already there, but in terms of infrastructure, when you judge it by its public transportation. And I conducted an experiment because here at Fortune India, we believe the proof is in the pudding. And I took the Mumbai Metro today.
From the Aqua Line, from South Bombay, right here to this venue. Seamless, high-tech, and I didn't break a sweat. So if I've given you a little bit of a hint in terms of how crucial that project is, how it's changed everything, and it continues to change everything as we speak, that's going to be a huge focus of our next fireside chat with a very special guest who will offer all of us valuable perspectives on Maharashtra's growth trajectory and how Mumbai's infrastructure is undergoing a massive transformation under her leadership. Can we have a huge round of applause for Ashwini Bhide, Principal Secretary to Maharashtra CM and MD, Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation. A huge round of applause. This session will be conducted by my colleague, B. Keshav Dev.
Hello, good evening, and it's a real pleasure to share this stage with a very, I would say, powerful lady. While we have a list of 100 most powerful women, the guest we have today on stage is an exception because she's the only bureaucrat to have featured in this list consecutively for the sheer work that she is doing in Bombay. And not just in Bombay to begin with, now she has got a far bigger role in Maharashtra. So ma'am, could you just give us that figure which is rightly being covered under your leadership in Maharashtra? Because that will give a sense to the audience of the scale and size of the projects that you're undergoing.
Thank you so much. First of all, for putting me in this list of 100 powerful women, and I'm really glad to share this list along with so many other entrepreneurs and corporate leaders. I think as Principal Secretary to the Chief Minister, I have been leading the Chief Minister's War Room, which basically tracks and monitors important mega projects which are happening all across the state, right from the transport project to energy transition, railway projects, water resource development projects. And currently about 25 to 30 projects we are tracking in a very professional way. And the investment expected in this project is to the tune of 5 lakh crore. If you include all water resources project, PSP projects. So that's what I have
Please
been doing
remember,
now.
5 lakh crore is the amount, and that's humongous.
But there my role is basically to ensure that all these projects are on time. The hurdles which they go through, because these kinds of mega projects are very difficult to implement, and they have to go through a very rigorous kind of framework from start to finish. There are a lot of hurdles in terms of land availability, all kinds of clearances, financing. So my current job with the help of my team is to track all these projects continuously on a real-time basis, and these projects are spread out throughout the state. But here I'm not a doer. I'm basically, I'm trying to get these projects implemented on time, but the implementing teams are of course different. They are scattered all over the state. But in my other role, which is the Managing Director of Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation, I'm myself implementing the, I think the first fully underground metro corridor of India, and that is Mumbai's Aqua Line.
Ma'am, can you, for the audience, could you give us a sense of if Mumbai Metro was not present in the shape that it is today, what would it have meant for Mumbai's lifeline, which is the Western Railway and the Central Railways?
I think we first need to see how Mumbai commutes today. About 8 million people travel daily on Mumbai's suburban network, which is spread across the entire Mumbai metropolitan region. And those many people depend on this suburban network for their daily commute, for their livelihood and other important tasks. And the rest of the people, they travel either by buses or by taxis, that is the para-transit, or the private vehicles. But we know that Mumbai's road network is very limited compared to Delhi's more than 28,000 kilometers of road network. Mumbai has only 2,000 kilometers of road network. And because of Mumbai's geographical shape, its peninsular nature, and its inability to expand because it is surrounded by seas, we have very limited landmass and limited space available for road. So the current transport scenario, we all know that every day we have so much of congestion on the road and we face that. If that scenario is to be changed, and if you think of suburban rail and the commute on the suburban railway system, it is not a very, it is very efficient, but it is not a comfortable commute. It is not a safe commute. Every day so many people die or so many people get injured on the suburban rail system. So if you have to change that scenario, and if we want people to travel in very efficient, reliable and comfortable as well as safe mode of transport, then we have to think of metro system. So the metro network which is being led in Mumbai, that is going to basically change the way city travels. It is a rail-based public transport system which is going to provide additional capacity in Mumbai. As I said, today 8 million passengers travel on suburban rail. But once the entire metro network is completed, then we are going to double the capacity of the public transport. So almost 10 million people would be able to travel on this road. And suburban rail system would also be there. So you can imagine what kind of capacity we are creating. So the metro rail network has the potential to change the way the city travels. So that's
Will this kind of decongest the existing rail network systems in Mumbai, especially, if the metro is fully commissioned, the network?
It would certainly. But in addition to metro system, because that is the public transport network, what happens in metro system is it basically can traverse through all those areas which today are not connected by rail-based public transport system. Because Mumbai suburban rail is at grade, it is on broad gauge, and it has certain limitations in going in other nooks and corners of the city. Because conventionally Mumbai has flourished, Mumbai's businesses and economic activity has flourished along these existing corridors.
But over a period of time, so many other land parcels are unlocked, each and every corner of the city, and the metro stations are just 1 kilometer apart from each other, whereas the suburban stations are either they are away from 3 to 5
kilometers distance is there in between, so you have to take another mode of transport to reach to your destination. Whereas once the metro network is complete, that will also provide the last mile connectivity, and that has the ability to decongest the routes. For example, Mumbai Metro Line 3 expects almost 85% of its ridership coming from the